Good evening, everyone. I will call tonight's May 28th, 2024 meeting to order. Thank you to those attending in person tonight and those staying engaged by watching our recording at a later time. The public is reminded that if they wish to speak during community comment, they will need to fill out a speaker form located in the lobby on the table and turn it in to Board Secretary Kim Coven, seated at the end of the table on my left. Comments will take place during the designated community comment portion of our meeting. And before we dive into tonight's agenda, I want to take a moment to introduce those seated at the table with me. To my right, we have Superintendent Degner, Directors Abraham, Eastham, Williams. To my left, Vice President Clausen, Directors Finch, Lingo, and Board Secretary Coven. And with that, we will dive into tonight's agenda. First up is our Education Showcase.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit different Ed Showcase tonight. So instead of having some folks here to present to you, I'm going to actually use a little bit from the message I delivered at the Education is Everybody's Business Breakfast. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of read from the page here if you'll humor me for a minute, but I think it does a nice job of highlighting some district accomplishments this year. So, in the face of economic and legislative uncertainty, we have, with your help, continued to elevate the district's profile and performance. As the state's fourth largest school district, we've stated a shared commitment to be all in for all kids. In front of us this year, we laid out a vision for the future, ICCSD 2030, that centered our work on four major areas reflecting our commitment to all kids. In ICCSD 2030, I believe we said the quiet things out loud. We told our stakeholders what we were going to do so that we could be clear about our goals for the future and remind people that we are the district of choice in the state of Iowa. We stated that we would expand student learning opportunities, provide access to universal preschool, innovate a robust continuum of services for our students, and create lifelong relationships with students. I'm happy to report back on a few of our achievements in those areas. By the close of this school year, we will have all of our district schools certified as a level 1 high reliability school, meaning they've built cultures centered on being safe, supportive, and collaborative learning environments. None of that would be possible without the tireless efforts of our staff, remembering that every day, yes, they teach content, but first they teach students. I'd like to thank them for how they approach their work each and every day. As of today, we have over 500 students registered for preschool. This means we currently have more preschools registered than ever before, well outpacing last year's registrations at this time. Also new for next year, we plan to pilot full-day teacher-led programs so that students receive instruction for a full day. There's no stronger data point for determining student success than a high-quality preschool experience. We have the #1 ranked high school in the state of Iowa and 3 of the top 10 according to the U.S. News and World Report, a ranking based not only on college readiness through AP course taking, but state assessment proficiency and performance, underserved student performance, college curriculum breadth, and graduation rates. This is a major achievement and one we should all take great pride in. We've added courses such as cybersecurity, advanced marketing and sales, Spanish for heritage speakers, and apprenticeships in nursing and welding to better prepare our students for their future interests. There's no way I could do our athletic, music, arts, and extracurricular programming justice in the small amount of time I have, but I have to mention them as we all know the talent and level of skill we get to see every time we attend a performance, game, or event. It's truly exceptional. Borlaug Elementary was recognized as the National Blue Ribbon School, and the ICCSD was recognized as a Green Ribbon School District, one of 11 in the nation. Our middle schools are set to open in the fall of 2024 and are going to offer rich, new, engaging electives with fewer study halls. A few of these electives are engineering design and STEM, flight and space, generative AI, science and technology of food, movie and video game music, and stop motion animation. Our middle schools will also provide new opportunities to better connect our students and families through teaming concepts to their middle level experiences supporting students through this incredibly important transition. Finally, some of the most demanding and critical work is even paying off as we're seeing early success and increased achievement rates and closing achievement gaps for our Black and Brown students as we work towards the goals outlined in our strategic plan. Going forward, we'll continue to move full steam ahead in these areas while also shaping the future. The District's Center for Innovation will accelerate our ability to achieve competencies in our Portrait of a Graduate helping to ensure students are adaptable, empathetic, can communicate effectively, think critically, and possess a learner's mindset, and are true global citizens. We're beyond excited as we begin to look programming for students in the fall of 2025. This is truly the best place to be, not only as a school district, but as a community. People come to this area and never leave, or some come and do try to leave, but end up right back here. I like to think that's because we all endlessly work to make it feel like home. Thank you for doing that for the next generation in our community. Yeah, with that, we've had a great year, I think.
A very good year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Superintendent Degner. Next up is community comment, and I don't have any slips, so I will move to seek approval for tonight's agenda.
I move we approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Board Secretary Colvin, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
Secretary Colvin, I'm a yes vote.
Thank you, Director Grant. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Before we get to tonight's consent agenda, were there any questions from board members that reviewed this cycle of bills? Okay. Are there any items that directors would like to pull from tonight's consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Actually, before you vote, President Malone, could I ask you to potentially amend that motion and pull the item, now I lost it, I think it's 13.
Vice President Clausen, would you mind amending your motion?
I would amend my motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 13.
Agreed.
Okay. Board Secretary Colvin, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Item number 13, setting a date for a public hearing. Superintendent Degner or Deputy Ramey?
Yeah, I'll just introduce it briefly, and then Chafes might have something else as Jeff makes his way to the podium here. We just wanted to spend a little bit of time tonight showing you about what that bid opening will include. It's a request to set a date for that public hearing, but we also just wanted to show you a little bit of the design work or the plan for what will be the top floor of the Center for Innovation, and then also some of the early plans for the bottom floor or the basement with some classrooms in the storm shelter. So Chase, do you have anything else before Jeff goes?
The only thing I'd add is, kind of an extenuation of what we were talking about at P&G right before the meeting. This would be an example of how the process might look going forward. We would have it pulled out so that we could do this after after the consent agenda or later on in the docket when we're at this point in the process.
Good evening. So what we're showing here is, this is the basement, which currently is just storage down there. And you'll see down here on the bottom, this drawing here, this is the new storm shelter, which actually will be 2 classrooms too. That'll be outside in currently the front to the training center, and it will be a patio similar to what CI High had over there. Be some kind of be more of a ceramic tile on it, but that's what it is down there. These will be 2 new rooms that they're building down there, and we'll be remodeling the bathrooms down there. So this area here will be future expansion as more programs come into the building, and we'll keep this back area storage, and IT has this, and this is the mechanical area. So it's pretty simple down there. Any questions about the basement at all? And that the design there is for the classrooms, the potential classrooms, not for the full building as far as the storm shelter.
So Jeff, could you remind us what the classrooms are, or what we envisioned the classrooms being used for?
You would have to talk to Matt on that.
Jeff probably doesn't want to answer that question. So this year, I'll provide you guys a more in-depth update over the summer, but this year we had the Center for Innovation Leadership team that met throughout the school year. We've been making some good progress, and it actually allowed us an opportunity to probably go a little bit deeper into some things, knowing that we would not be able to host students at the Center for Innovation until that storm shelter is built. We can't get occupancy for kids until that point in kind of a school setting. So we have some ideas, and I'd like to present those to you guys at some point. I would say the bigger space, we have some exciting partnerships that we're also exploring with some organizations that would be familiar to you, but I don't want to put them on blast yet tonight because those aren't formalized yet. But we do have some plans, hopefully, for those larger spaces as well that we continue to work on. So right now, those classrooms, that was a starting point for us, knowing we were going to have to accelerate doing the storm shelter. And so without having all the details refined yet at this point, we minimized the amount of construction that we would take on early for that project.
Okay, great, that helps a lot.
Okay. And oops. And then this here would be the top floor. This is where we're going to start the renovation. So the top of the page is north, which is that upper parking lot. And when you come across the bridge, come inside, there's very few areas that I can specifically say this is where that group will be. But when you first walk in, and they will have their own door to get into their rooms, would be the foundation, so they can meet the public. Foundation will have all the gray areas, the dark gray, are some kind of conference room. So actually, people can meet inside this one without having to come in the building, whether it's for the foundation or for other groups. On the outside walls will be directors. The chiefs, the executives will all be out here. This will be a new conference room. The Apple will not be in there. That's the table for 24, I think we decided on that. This is the superintendent's suite here. And then as you come around, we come around over here again, and you have business and HR. Here it says the nurses, that's where they will be, and conference room, and then all the cubicles will all be out in this area here and that. So we'll be having more daylight. We're going to add some windows here to help get us some more daylight. The cubicles will be the ones that are up there, which are a little shorter, which will make it brighter inside. The restrooms will pretty much stay the same. This area, the current cafeteria, will stay the same. The new boardroom will be down in the southeast corner, and I'll have a better look at that. But off of the boardroom over here, it will be a room now that the board can meet in, and that's where the Apple goes.
Just add one thing to when Jeff talked about the cubicles out in the middle, one of the pieces of feedback we received from staff is they want areas of privacy, but they also want areas to collaborate, which I think is what we're seeing in businesses. And so you can see we put some additional walls in there, even more so that are in this building, so that departments can have their teams together to have their own spaces, but then also some flex space that they can use with inside their teams to collaborate. So trying to provide both of those different types of areas for the staff to utilize in the building.
And if anybody has a chance to go out there, our grounds crew, this is something that I think we're pretty proud of. They just did some landscaping out on the other side of the cafeteria. If anybody has a chance to go out and look, you can see what our guys do. This is all in-house, so it's really a nice job. The boardroom, you can see this set of doors here, which is not there. Down on the middle floor, which is actually the first floor, we are adding another set. So when we have a meeting like tonight, everybody will be coming in the south side. They can either use these stairs, or there's the elevators right there, but they can get in, they can access this without having access to the whole building, such being planned out. So, and then the boardroom, let me get here. So that's looking from the back side, from the gallery, looking into it. We will be taking the dais from here. We will not be able to raise it or anything. The ceiling there, the highest we can get is about 10.5 feet. So it'll be lower than it is here. You'll see Currently, if you've been in the training center, there's black baffles that hang down. It's the same look here. So it gives it a better look in that. Oops. The monitors, what we'll have up there, we're not sure how they're going. We're still working with IT on that. And you'll see better in the next picture, but the admin will sit over here, and we'll have a dais there for the community to speak, and then a dais here for the admin team to speak. But this is coming from it'd be the southeast corner view. And that's just kind of it, unless you got
So
questions.
Jeff, I just have a couple of questions. One, you mentioned that you're remodeling bathrooms, is that right?
Up
The
there,
restrooms?
upstairs, we're just doing minor, not a whole lot.
Okay, so are we gonna be able to meet our all gender use goals for the district, for district buildings? here?
That's a good point, Charlie. We don't have a single use on this floor. But we can look into putting one in.
We have several.
Close to that entry, Jeff, where they would come in on the first floor?
No,
The
there's not.
single use? No.
No, we have these in here, but we could easily add one off of here.
I would agree with Charlie
Okay.
that that would be very important to have, especially for access to the community and people that are coming to board meetings.
For board meetings, yes, for sure, right, yeah.
Agreed.
And
I thought I saw one.
We have some in the training center, but not up here.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
so, could you give us just a general picture of how this will improve the experience of people coming to board meetings? Or the meetings to be held in this space, or that space instead of this space?
For one thing, it's gonna be bigger.
Okay,
It's gonna be, brighter colors than that. I mean, we'll have some natural daylight, but I guess I can't really.
I think that we'll have better technology set up in that building, and that's something that Adam and Josh could speak to. More of a 21st century look and feel as we talk about parking and access, and as Jeff talked about coming in of a lot with a dedicated area up to that. Plus, also, I think it's a dedicated space, so we envision having an area set up for our committee meetings or our work sessions along that south wall as well, so that we're not constantly moving furniture around. And so as people are coming into the space in the evening before a meeting starts, we're not trying to finish up an admin meeting and really trying to double or triple the purpose. As a board, I think you deserve a dedicated space for those purposes, and this provides that. There's also, from a board perspective and from a community perspective, we believe this space provides better safety and security than this current space, more limited access and egress into that space. So it allows us to control the public into that environment from a board perspective with that room off of the side that Jeff showed where you all can go for closed session or exempt session. That also provides an exit out through the back area that's easier for the board, for administration. And so it does, I believe, enhance not only the experience of people participating or being in the meeting, but also from a safety and security standpoint. It provides a better experience for the board, for administration, other staff, as well as the public that would be at meetings.
great. Can't wait to get into it.
Neither can we. We're excited.
You know, I don't know this to be true. I would imagine that the lower ceilings, and I don't know if the baffles have any effect, and I'm hoping the sound is better, just that it is for the public. It's easier to hear, it's not so muddy. I just think that's I don't think everyone overlooks it, but having been to any number of gyms and graduations, like the sound is always pretty terrible. And it's just hard. And if you can't hear what's going on, it just limits your participation, so.
That building has a loading dock on the top floor, is that correct?
Yes, it
Or
does.
where it's-
Yep, over on
So
the east side.
where is that on that design? Is there,
It is right here. So the dais go here, the board meeting, so it's right there.
it's right there, okay, so there won't be any like warehouse space near the loading dock? Or
No.
Okay, okay.
No.
Any additional comments or questions? Thank you. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve setting the date of the June 11th, 2024 for a public hearing, and June 25th at 2 o'clock for a bid opening for the CFI Phase 2 remodel project.
So moved. Oh,
Go ahead, JP.
second.
All right, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. That takes us to our public hearings for tonight, and the first one is the 2023-24 Certified Budget Amendment.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the district's proposed FY 2024 Certified Budget Amendment. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on May 18th, 2024. Are there any comments from the board? Is there anyone from the community that would like to advise or provide comments to the board on the proposed FY 2024 budget amendment?
Okay, we will close that public hearing and move on to the next one, public hearing for the resolution directing expenditures of the School Flexibility Fund.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the district's proposed resolution directing expenditures of the School Flexibility Fund. Notice of the public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on May 18th, 2024. Are there any comments from the board? Is there anyone from the community that would like to advise or provide comments to the board on the proposed resolution directing expenditures of the School Flexibility Fund?
And we will close that public hearing. Thank you, Vice President Clausen. Next up is policy review, and Director Finch, do you want to review the 900 series and the policy updates?
Sure, President Malone. So not a lot of changes there. We mostly dealt with name changes, reflecting going from junior high to middle schools, and then some wording of the complaint process directing you back to the 100 series. And then for the policy updates, again, not a lot of changes there with the facility use fees. So I don't, does anybody have anything to add to that? Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director Finch. Next up is the equity update, and Director Gray.
Hello, everyone. Wanting to share something that the Equity Department's been working on for a little bit this spring is something that we're calling the 15% Project. And just to give a little bit of background information, our team has been supporting some girls who were struggling last year with their behaviors, specifically fighting types of behaviors, and we wanted to do something proactive to keep them off of suspension and keep getting in trouble that way. And so we put some days of enrichment in place last year, and that was pretty successful. We had a lot of support from buildings who came to wrap around their girls as well. This year, we followed those young ladies at the secondary level, really at the high school level. And although the fighting ceased, which was really awesome, when we started to kind of dig into more of what their goals and still have restorative type circles around what they needed, we found out in looking at their grades and attendance that there was a huge issue there. And so we were trying to figure out how can we support, what can we do? And out of that is what kind of birthed this idea of well, we know that there's more. We started to look into some of our reports, and we know too that there may be multiple factors to play into that. And so instead of guessing or pointing a finger, we took the path of being curious, and we work with buildings to do focus groups. So we did some focus groups with some counselors at the different high schools, and we did a survey to try to grab some thoughts from building principals and other stakeholders within the building. And then we did some focus groups with students, which was really powerful. We were so grateful to have Superintendent Degner and Executive Director Lucas join us in some of that, and just listening to not only what people were already putting in place to try to support our kiddos, but what worked, what hasn't worked, thoughts about what may need to happen moving forward, because we just want to make sure that this group of students who are credit deficient aren't going to remain credit deficient. And we know that everybody's busy and that our buildings are doing so much, but like it was literally like taking stabs in the dark, like to try to answer, well, why is this happening? And it was really also awesome to hear from students, what do they think is actually happening? Do they understand where they are academically? Can they pinpoint and or identify when the turning point happened? What do they think was the main factor in there? And then even asking them what an ideal type of support would look like for them has been really, really awesome. So we're still in the focus group phase, where the next part of that is going to be to pull together building principals and some other stakeholders, what we're calling like a meeting of the minds, like just having different people represented that can pull together a plan moving forward that ultimately we can put in our strategic plan to say, we're going to make sure that we're not leaving these students behind and that there's something actively happening to support these kiddos or young adults.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Executive Director Gray or Superintendent Degner? Look like you want
Mine's
to
a
say
little bit of a switching gears, so if you have
Oh,
any
okay.
questions for Laura, please ask first.
I don't have any questions. You have a real a compliment to Laura and the staff, Superintendent Degner, for our approach to the behavior that, that some kids were finding themselves engaged in, not punitive, not dismissal, but assistance, support, connection. So I really appreciate that on your part.
Just real quick comment. I guess also what I appreciate is really trying to understand the why. Rather than just looking at this, well, this thing happened, therefore X, Y, Z. What's going on? And at the end of the day, you got to ask the students, and for them to know, they may not know exactly why, but when everyone comes together, you come up with that. And then what I really appreciate is that now there's an action plan. What will we do with this information? I mean, that's that next piece, because we can gather that information and that's great, but now what are we going to do as far as a plan moving forward? And then for those folks who are like, well, what about all these suspensions? So this is what we're doing, this ahead of time to get a grip on it, because something's going on. If we're in it, we know oftentimes it's similar people or the exact same people who lead to lots of the suspensions. So to really drill down and understand, what's going on and listen to these folks, so then we can figure out a plan moving forward is exciting work.
All right. Thank you so much. Superintendent Degner?
Yeah, mine was just a follow-up from a community commenter we had at our last meeting, Ms. Kedora. She had mentioned an important date that did not get reflected in the equity newsletter. I just wanted to update the board that we had reached out and acknowledged that we did have an oversight on that date in the newsletter. We've since offered it, but are trying to also be careful that sometimes, our idea of what can make it better might not be the right idea. So we're kind of waiting for a response on that. And then we also did have I know she had an opportunity to have a follow-up conversation with our library coordinator about some of the titles in the library, especially in the nonfiction realm of things. So just an update to you guys that we've continued to try to address that concern that you heard.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Next up is a discussion regarding the board vacancies. So as directors have seen, the application and the notice is posted, and we have received a couple applications so far. Our next meeting will be Monday at 5 o'clock to hear from those who apply before the deadline, which is Friday, May 31st at 4 p.m. I believe Secretary Coven is, okay. So if you're listening, you have until Friday, May 31st at 4 p.m. to get your application in to Board Secretary Kim Coven. We will talk about, after we hear from the candidates, we will talk about the process of appointing at that Monday meeting. And then we will actually appoint the person on June 11th.
And Ruthina, as I understand, we're going to vote on June 11th
Yes.
for the,
Yes.
for
So on Monday, we will
You will-
just hear from the candidates. Each candidate will get 4 minutes to share with us anything that they feel relevant or will make an impact on their selection. And then on June 11th, we will have a special meeting to appoint them and administer the oath of office.
Okay. And again, on the 3rd, we're going to talk about the process we're going to
Yes.
use in making this decision. Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions, comments? Okay. That takes us to tonight's action items. And first up, is there a motion to approve the 2023-24 amended certified budget?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up is, I'll entertain a motion for the resolution directing expenditures of the School Flexibility Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I just wanted to note, after reading through the description of the School Flexibility Fund changes, I really want to commend the staff for diligently working through a complicated process, because that enables us to use non-general fund money for some of these programs and expenditures, which makes general fund money more available to us for other purposes too.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up, I would entertain a motion for the Southeast Junior High 2024 modular project.
So moved.
No, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any questions or comments, discussion?
Just a quick comment. So this is an extenuation of our conversation at the end of April. We brought you the modular project initially, and we said we'd set some checkpoints, and this is that next checkpoint. And as it says in the document, while this was technically approved as part of the board item on the 24th, we set a clause in here that said it would be finally accepted at this meeting. At this point, we do recommend that we go forward with moving a number of modulars to Southeast. We are still cautiously optimistic that we are going to get finished, but if we continue to have weather like we had the last 2 weeks, those hopes begin to fade. So better safe than sorry, and so we would recommend or ask the board to approve the next phase of moving up to 8 modulars, which would be up to 16 classrooms over to Southeast in the case that we have to use those in the fall. This does not mean that we won't bring you back updates along the way, but if we don't do it now, we'll just run out of time to get them in place before school would start.
Any additional comments, questions?
If we were to, inevitably use these modulars, what grade levels would be in there? Or has that been part of the discussion yet?
This is primarily where the 6th grade would be housed. So one of the alternative plans we've talked about too is potentially that the first floor of that 6th grade addition will be done where most of those gen ed classrooms would be. And so that may be a possibility. There may just be a few spaces that need to be used. Again, it's somewhat of a security blanket, like Chase had talked about, with depending on construction, but primarily this would be some of our new 6th grade students there. So not ideal, but at the same time, as soon as the construction is complete, then they'll be in the spaces that were constructed for them.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Next up is the negotiated tentative agreements, and as Director C, we have all of the tentative agreements listed. So I would entertain a motion.
I would move to approval of the listed tentative agreements.
Second.
Is there any comments, questions, discussion?
I just want to say thank you to Nick. Nick did a great job of carrying a big lift here through this process with the 5 different groups. And also a thank you to Brady and his team in a lot of different areas here. So it took a tremendous amount of time from those two working through this process. And thank you to those of you that also served with these different groups along the way. But I always think this is a strength area for us too, even though I didn't mention at the beginning about our labor relations and how we're able to come to the table and that it's so amicable. We hear horror stories from other districts about how these processes go. And so never want us to take it for granted because you guys did tremendous work getting these to the table tonight.
Great. Any additional comments?
Could just add that I think the entire team deserves compliments and a welcome attitude on your part, both in the represented groups and in the administration. I was participating or at some of these meetings, not all of them, and it's striking about how cooperative and task-focused this process is in this district.
Okay.
I'll just comment that I'm going to be recusing myself from this vote, or abstaining rather, just because I will be benefiting from it.
And I too will be abstaining from voting on it due to a conflict of interest for 2 of the groups. All right, Board Secretary Coven, ready to vote?
We have a motion.
Yeah. Director Eastham made the motion and Director Abraham seconded.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with Directors Eastham, Williams, Finch, Abraham, and Lingo voting yea, and Directors Clausen and Malone abstaining.
Great, thank you, everyone. And that brings us to agenda setting. First up, we have the special meeting to hear from the candidates regarding the board vacancy, and also we will discuss the process for making that appointment. As applicants have submitted their application, I have reached out and just gave them an outline of the next steps. So reminding them that we'll meet on June 3rd and the selection will be made on June 11th.
I just have a question about the, I guess, appropriateness of me participating in this meeting. Is that matter?
You're still on the board.
Yeah,
I know.
You're still a board member.
Okay.
I'm
All
fine
right.
with that.
All righty.
Okay.
Dotting my I's, crossing my T's.
Any questions regarding that agenda? Okay, then the next one will be our regular June director meeting on June 11th. We have our regular listed items, as well as the quarterly financial report, annual asset protection. And I know Director Eastham, you were going to ask for a discussion item.
Yes, I'm interested in having a chance to consider the request from the Coralville Mayor, Megan Foster, to change the attendance area boundaries for a new subdivision in the northern part of Coralville. And I would suggest that other directors may have other preferences. I would suggest adding that as a discussion items, and the superintendent may have some direction you'd like to give here too at this point. So.
I think a discussion item makes sense, Charlie. I think we can start there, and we'll be ready with some information or some things to think about in terms of that request from the city of Coralville, and then see what questions, we can't answer that evening or what follow-up we might want to do.
Any additional items? I do know we need to have listed board member abandonment, or however you want to list it, I don't know. As well as farewell to an executive director, Daly. That will be her last meeting that night. And she so graciously told me that, because I told her she couldn't sneak out without giving us an opportunity to say goodbye. And I don't know if there's additional items. Don't look at me like that. Okay, and then after our regular meeting, it's not on here, but it will be a special meeting to do the appointment for the replacement of Vice President Clausen. So we'll have a total of 2 meetings that night. Any questions, comments? Okay. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.